Okay. So are we good? So can you see me? I mean, can you see the slides? Yeah, am I audible? Good.
Hi.
Hey, hi, Ricardo. Hey, good. Okay, I can hear you. So let me know if you can see my screen. So I'm will recording this session, and you should be able to see opening slide which shares as mastering UFI in 45 days, right?
Okay.
Okay. So I this today and tomorrow it would be just course introduction and what to expect from the course and what all we'll be able to do, and you can as well share your profile. So profile in the sense what skill set you're coming from and what are your expectations, etc. So that we can align with throughout the course, and we can personalize the course based on expectations, etc. Right? So even first 1 or 2 days, it's completely, it's just onboarding kind of thing where we'll try to understand what all concepts, etc. we'll be covering, and access, etc. I think you have sent me a mail regarding access. So access probably I have requested it. So you'll get your access by uh, preferably on Monday. Okay, Monday in the sense I think for you it is Sunday. So it will take 1 or 2 days time, and probably you should get your access uh, to the configuration, etc. systems. So meanwhile, we'll just touch upon as a course overview, etc. Right. Mm. So today's session will talk about all about what's new all about Fury 3, and how the course is structured and what our content, etc. is going to be, and we'll see a quick demo. And if you're already familiar with SAP Fury ecosystem, that should be pretty normal. But we'll have a quick glance about. We'll understand what's new in Fury 3 and what's the roadmap lying ahead for us as part of this course. And so I'm Ramna. So I'm currently working at IBM as application developer. So 9 years into this SAP space, and so far I was primarily, working in this space for and have handled around 10 plus projects. And this is a short brief about myself. And in next 45 days, we'll try to target to achieve what are the things we can build using SAP Fiori as its stack, and what all solutions, etc. customers do ask us, and how do we face these challenges, etc. And based on my experience, etc. handled throughout my journey, I'll try to take those real-time use case and try to present in these sessions so that you can make best use of it. So coming to the course outline, so it is structured in this way, where every day we talk about some theory and every day some new concept we'll try to learn, and we'll try to apply practically. So we'll try to do some practical exercises out of it, and more we'll focus on this is more of uh, you know developers point of view we'll try to cover. If you're someone who is more interested in you know not too keen on, and if you're someone who is just too much keen on how new features, etc. works on, then we can personalize accordingly. So objective is every day we'll have some new concept and we'll be practicing those in our day-to-day sessions, and all the code snippets would be shared via via GitHub. So I'll be sharing shortly. You'll have a GitHub repository. So if you're already used to GitHub repository, perfectly fine. Else we'll just try to um, share the repository and how to manage, etc. I'll just introduce shortly. So you would be getting everyday code snippets via GitHub, so you can take them and you can practice them every day. And some of all the week's learnings we'll try to give a use case which you can work on, where all the learnings you can sum up and you can try to build one weekly project. So weekly project would be on your weekends, where you can try to practice those concepts and you can come back and you can ask me the questions, etc. if you at all you are struggling to do those scenarios. So by the 45 days course outcome should be, we should be able to build at least minimum 2 use cases using Fiori, and max it could be we'll definitely do beyond 2. We'll try to cover at least 4 scenarios, 4 to 5 scenarios in this journey. So this is objective of this course outline. Any questions regarding the course or anything, etc.?
No.
I'm going to, and this whole structure is structured in 3 parts where, if beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So keeping in view of the wavelength of different audiences. So we'll try to go in the first week, we'll try to touch up, because if someone is coming from ABAP background and they're completely new to Fiori ecosystem, so this is not based on that stack. We need JavaScript, CSS, and HTML as a minimum understanding. So this is a web technology. All the applications are based on browser based. So browser based technologies use JavaScript as a base. So in the beginner track, I'll go slow. We will try to understand what are the tools, development tools required for us to build UF applications and basics of web development. So each day we'll try to do one exercise on JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS, and along with that we'll try to understand Fiori 3 concepts. So in the first week it would be our beginner course where we'll try to get used to the ecosystem of Fiori and the tools and access, etc. So all the access preferably you'll be getting in by first 4 or 5 days. So week 1 would be your beginner class, and week 2 would be your intermediate class, where we'll talk about complete on-premise as well as cloud administration. So how do you manage your custom scenarios, be it SAP Fiori scenarios? How are we going to manage as for a large customers for that matter? So it will be all about managing your ecosystem and roles and authorizations, etc. Managing, and so it deals with end-to-end administration part. And the third week starts with where exactly we'll be more focusing on the programming part and building use cases part. So this is the phase where we'll start building more use cases and practical approach, where we'll try to build 2 use cases and we'll try to learn all the concepts of UFI and Fiori. So it includes all forms of building, be it extension projects, be it new custom applications, all types of Fiori applications, building and developing, how do we do, etc. All everything will be starting from week 3 onwards. So this is how the course has been structured, and if all good, we can move on to our day 1 class. Okay, good so far. So you can stop me at any point. So it would be better if we have an interactive session, because if you are someone who know the concept already, then we can skip those things and we can fast forward with something which you are yet to know. So probably before I start, I mean, probably if you can give me some background about which technologies currently you're working on and what are your expectations, then I think that would give me some inputs as well to get started with the session.
What?
So can you just let me know, I mean, what technologies have been working currently, and what you're looking forward for this course as such?
I am programming theory,
Okay.
basic, basic. Hi.
I think I I'm 1 second. Let me increase my volume. Yes.
Let's
Yes,
continue.
please.
Let's continue.
Sure. Okay. So if you pause me at any point so that I can assist based on the scenario which we are dealing, right? Okay. Fine. Great. So as you are already from Fiori, I think you might be aware of Fiori. So I'm just getting started with the class 1. So we'll see the journey of SAP Fiori. So how the journey has evolved to till date. Right now it is Fiori 3.0, where the journey started. The UX evolution of SAP, it's not something which is new. It has been, SAP as a product, it took 40 years for its current stage. And back in 91, the UIs were, completely command prompt was based. If you can see the screenshot out there, so the UI aspect was very minimal, and it was more of having the complete functionality. So you are able to do the job, then that's the biggest benefactor which we can expect from those screens. A gradual evolution. This is about you can say it is an year scale. So as the years progressed, so SAP has introduced SAP Web Intro for HTML and Java, where you could have some of the screens which are working on browser as well as on SAP GUI. So Web Intro is a still till 2000s as well, and even now Web Intro is a dominating space when it comes to building SAP GUI based applications. But during the mid of year 2000, and by the time of 2000 it has come, the browser and internet based applications are very predominant, and not only just SAP GUI. So they had to bring in SAP GUI for HTML and Java. So primarily, not only using SAP Web Intro, now those applications can be accessed on your browser as well. But they are still limited with the functionality of getting access from mobiles and desktops and other. Of course, it can be accessed from desktop, but mobiles and tablets accessing them is really tough. So by the year 2010, so rise of mobiles and tablets has exponentially increased, and all the business use cases were mandatorily required to be run on your phones as well. So customers started demanding, at least they were looking forward for the use cases where they can run their application on their Apple phone, etc. So for their day-to-day tasks. So not all use cases even today are fully aligned with mobile first as a strategy, but there was a compelling reason for them to have a technology which will allow them to build use cases for SAP. So SAP Fiori has was as a platform was introduced back in 2013. So back in 2013, it has been introduced. That's when SAP has announced that using SAP Fiori as a platform, now business users can build their use cases not only for the desktop version. So not only that, but you can build for mobile as well as your tablet as well. So initially in 2013, SAP expanded with largely with 25 frequently used scenarios like timesheet, creating sales order, and these kind of casually used applications, which are most not very business intensive, but they're good to have. So it expanded with that. And back then there was a separate license for SAP Fiori, and the customers adoption and the traction was minimal and not much was there to talk about Fury. But gradually things changed, and by the time Fury S4 HANA product was introduced in 2015, and that's a where breakthrough happened, where SAP announced that going forward, all your UI developments, the default choice would be SAP Fury. So all the applications, new innovations which are being brought in by SAP in the form of S4 HANA as a product were being shipped as with SAP Fiori. So SAP Fiori became a default choice, as if at least you can say the first choice. So still all other technologies, Web Intro, etc. exists, and but it is recommended to build any new use case using SAP Fiori as a front end layer. So that's how the power of S/4HANA, the new phase they call it about. So SAP Fiori became the default choice. So if we are already clear with it, so now from ECC to S/4HANA, now we have this. I'll just try to put through this way. So now all ECC systems are bound to be migrated to S/4HANA. So S/4HANA is the latest product which SAP has as a successor has announced back in 2015. So with 2015 onwards, uh, so SAP Fiori came into mainstream, and it became inroads. Fiori became mainstream. So key agenda for takeaways from this action was, so they started shipping Fiori applications, and they categorized into three sections as transactional apps, and we have fact sheet, and then we have analytical apps. So all the apps were categorized this way. So back in this, and they're calling it as Fiori 2.0. So So we have from ECC to S4 HANA migration. Still, previously there was this a cutoff date of 2023 or 24, but now that has been extended to 2030. So till 2030, all users can still use ECC as an environment. But going forward, gradually, every user or a business user has to migrate to S4 HANA as a choice. And when that happens, SAP Fiori becomes mainstream all the more. So the use cases which are bound to rise would be exponentially more going forward, and pretty much every now and then we'll see a use case which is being talked about or built using SAP Fiori as a scenario. So by 2016, with the introduction of S4 HANA and these three broad categories of transactional apps and analytical and fact sheet were being widely started being used along with S4 HANA. And in between, so right now in from 2019 onwards, the new innovations called Fiori 3, so now they are calling Fiori as a design system. So how do we design better? So far building up applications for mobile etc were good, but the customers etc, they wanted to leverage machine learning. They want to leverage the new forms of, we have Siri, Cortana etc, so voice assistants. Now we want to leverage conversational UIs as well. We are supposed to build. So they are trying to introduce something called conversational interfaces, etc. So nothing but the Copilot, etc., which was when SAP is trying to play around with it, where by voice itself you should be able to approve an order or process an order, etc. So those kind of systems, etc., still in a work in progress. It's not completely ready, but it's an evolving process. So we are at a stage now. It's a Fiori 3 they call it, where the complete revamp of existing way of how we are using, etc., would be changing dramatically. And I'll just talk is a simple way. If you see, Fiori is solving the problem of one big problem it was solving. So you can build your use cases. If you build a use case once in USAP Fiori, it can be run on any platform. So be it an iOS or be it an Android, as it's a browser based and it is a responsive one, it can very much run on any device. And if you are someone looking for native features, when I say native features, using a camera or scanning barcode scanner, etc., those functionalities using your mobile phone, then SAP has introduced something called SDK, for MDK they call it, is mobile development kit for native mobile. So we can use iOS and Android specific features as well, and we can build native applications as well using SAP Fiori. So we have the Copilot etc are being called as conversational stack, where under the conversational we have specific to Copilot and how do we send notifications etc. So this is very too early. So currently SAP doesn't offer us to build custom use cases because there is no SDK which allows us to tweak or modify um, the conversational UI part. So right now only SAP ships these features, and we are not yet at a stage where we can build use cases or customize the use cases based on voice assistant. So but still native application we can build, but this area it's still a gray area where we can consume what SAP ships along with its product, but not something we can tweak around. Okay. So let me quickly so have a quick demo. Let me show you. So I'll just go with the demo of Fiori. So this is a landing page. We call it as Fiori Launchpad. So Fiori Launchpad is a central way for accessing all the Fiori applications by the end user. So when our end user logs in based on his role, all the Fiori applications are role based, where each user, if he has his intended role, then he can access those applications. So if you can see, this is Fiori 2.0 design. This is not 3.0. 3.0 would be available from 2020 edition, as for HANA 2020 edition onwards, and it's a work in progress. So I'll show you how it's going to be introduced, etc. It is how they have decided up is, so Fiori 3 is an incremental features which gradually would be introduced and would be available based on the new releases whenever SAP brings into picture. Along with each new release, they are trying to bring in more features. So in the coming years ahead, we'll be seeing more features which are Fiori 3 specific. So right now what you're seeing is Fiori 2.2 design, where all the apps would be displayed in the form of tiles. Where if you see, we have this is an approach where we have all the apps, etc. We have something called an app store. We're using App Finder, uh, specific apps which are tagged to the role. So based on roles, etc. If it is assigned to your ID, then this is a place where you can find your App Finder. So from the App Finder, you can enable which are the use cases which are you are going to use in your day-to-day activity using SAP Fiori as ecosystem. It's very simple to use one. If for end users, they can simply enable, they can pin and unpin their specific apps, and they can create their own new groups. So if you wanted to create your favorite folder, etc., all you need is you can just pin this to your favorite folder, and it would be added on your home page. So see, if you see, um, I created something called favorite, so I could create my own app. So if you if an application which you are intended to do has been assigned to you, then you should be able to find in the app finder section. So this is how you will be accessing and enabling your applications, and you can customize the layout which you have here, and you can regroup them and manage, and everything you can play around. So the theme you are seeing behind the scene is called as Billy's theme. So SAP tries to ship its theming and everything as a separate part of the application. So all the applications we can customize the look and feel, etc. So currently it comes with SAP branding. For any customer, if we at all we had to tweak the theme, etc., there's a central tool called Theme Designer, using which we can modify and customize this whole look and feel of how the landing page would be defined. So I will just go into one application. So in order to build these applications, SAP ships something called templates. So we do have two category of templates called elements based applications and freestyle applications. So what we are trying to see is now, you know, it's a it's a list report. So it's a list report template using which managed products application has been built. So they're like this is one of the SAP standard template using which if you have a service available, all you need to do is you have to use a list report template in order to build this particular use case. So end users can use this particular application. So if you see here, so if lots of drill down activities are required, now you as a user, they can try to refine the data which they required using these filters above, and they can further, if they wanted to review the data around, so they can play around with this data and they can drill down and do their intended task. Now in this case, managing products is one activity where they can, if they drill down further, they can modify the information out there. So they can play around with the use case uh, available to them. And in this case, we have a product called Pocket Expanding File. So adding a review, you can look at the reviews of how it has been so far, this product has been, etc. So this is a shopping application. So this may not be a relevant use case as a generic, but this is a sample use case which we are talking about. So this is something which is built. So if you are someone new, so how a Fiori application looks is this is how it looks, and by using a Fiori template, we can build these use cases throughout in our course. Okay, so let me take you through one more application where you have so there is managed products, and this is also using a list report where you have a tabular information which can be exported to Excel, and you can. This is a shopping application where they are trying to add some products to their cart. So end users, whenever they wanted to use this particular application, they can add to their cart and they can create an order request as well. So this is some simple illustration of how your application looks, Fiori application looks. So each of the users, end users, if you are someone as a supplier, if you're using it, you can, this is what we call it as groups. So each of the applications can be shipped in terms of catalogs and groups. So groups allows us to visualize the applications based on the category. Now all the supplier related apps would be categorized at one group, and all the purchaser apps would be categorized, we can categorize them as other group. So this is a short quick demo of how Fiori 2.0 looks. Now I'll try to show you how Fiori 3 looks like. So if you look at this screen grab, so this is how the Fiori 3 is going to look like. So from 2 and 3, the significant difference is in 2 we have only plain tiles, and it's classified as catalogs and groups, and all the apps are listed under App Finder are nothing but catalogs. We call this as catalog, and the one you are seeing on the home screen, this we call it as groups. So in the catalog you'll have all your apps, while in the groups they would be categorized based on your role, etc. You can you can bunch them into different groups as such. But this design has been revamped now. In 3, you can add something called UI integration cards. So this is still a lab preview. Not SAP hasn't actually mandated that this is how it's going to be, but this is a preview one where you can expect new interactions, etc. So if you see, you'll have traditional tiles, etc. So I'm going to show you one more screenshot. So if you see, you're going to have the tiles Fiori 2.0, how you are using it, same tiles, etc. still will be available, but with not only that, you have something called cards. So these are, we call it as UI cards. So UI cards are a new form of providing insights to the user. So we have something called overview page. So that is meant for individual applications, but this is something revamped SAP is doing on the home page itself. So you can add now new cards, which allows us to give snapshot of complete scenarios. But it's not just limited to that. So what SAP has done is with Fiori 2, Fiori with Fiori 2.0, S4 HANA apps itself, apps were being rolled out, right? So we talked about are being rolled out. So all new use cases are being rolled out for S4 HANA, and that they're calling as Fiori 2. In Fiori 3, the key significant difference is all acquired cloud products. So SAP has not only S4 HANA as a product, it has multiple products. It has something called Ariba, it has success factors. So these all are acquired products of in the cloud space, and they have field glass, they have Concur, and many more other products are there. Okay, so it has other products. Now the challenge which SAP has faced is, now right now not only S4 HANA product they have, so this is their flagship product, of course. So this is their flagship product, right? So not only but flagship product, they are suggesting to use SAP Fiori as first choice, right, as a default choice. But what about other platforms? If customer has purchased Ariba and SuccessFactors, the user response, I mean that not a user response, so the UI, etc. are using different technologies altogether. So Ariba using Java stack, and the SuccessFactors using different, Fieldglass, etc. using different. So different technology stacks are being introduced, and there is no common use case, there is no common UI platform which addresses all these problems. Now, I think as a customer, he need not to log into Ariba separately, SuccessFactors separately. So what SAP is coming up with new design is, right from Fiori Launchpad in Fiori 3, they can access all their products, SAP products, be it SuccessFactors, be it Fieldglass, anything. It can be straight away accessed from Fiori 3.0 landing page itself. So that's the newest change which has come in this space, landing page. So how do we do that? So if you see on the top corner, there is an icon called thumbnail. So if you click on the thumbnail, instead of just like App Finder, you will find all the products. Right now, Ariba has, this is how the UI looks, and for the field glass, this is how the UI, I mean the login page, etc. looks. Now all these products, Ariba, Fieldglass, Analytics Cloud, Concur, SuccessFactors, all our products are getting integrated in this way. So you'll have a thumbnail out there, and you can directly access from the central portal itself. So this is something, a new change which is being coming out as part of Fiori 3. And one more interesting thing to look forward is now Copilot is also being provided. So Copilot is nothing but your voice assistant, which would be available provided on the center of your landing page. So the moment you click on this, it would be providing, so you can search for the sales order number, you can say, and it will try to bring out from underlying applications wherever it is, it will try to bring about relevant information onto your screen. So the cards, etc., hopefully would be able to understand and provide some relevant details based on that. But it's too early, so these all are can change as well, the designs, etc., can change. So these are something SAP Fiori has announced in the past a couple of months, and the design, etc., can change dramatically as well. So this is how the Fiori 3 is going to uh, look like in the coming days or ahead of our time. And in next 2 years, I think this is how the new innovations which SAP is keenly focusing on right now. So from Fiori 2, Fiori 3, how it's going to look and what's new um, it's coming up right now. Okay, so this is a short understanding of Fiori journey. So as a Fiori, how it came and how the applications, etc., looks like. And let me just go into one step deep inside where, okay, as a developer, what does it take for us to do? So how long does this technology sustain, or whether it's going to stay longer or it doesn't stay longer? And how do we build any use case in this platform? Right now, I'll just try to show you, like, we have an Apple App Store and Google Play Store. So similarly, Fiori apps library we have. So this is something which is, you can call it as SAP's Fiori App Store, where all the Fiori applications, no matter what you have currently or ongoing innovations based on the customer landscape, we can look around what all applications are there. And I'll just give you a quick number crunching. So this is your app store. Let it give it a moment to load. So if you see, there are like lots of products listed out here on the left side. So this is a primary place where we can look up what all applications are there. So the key product, like I said, the flagship product, any new applications, etc., which are being introduced, so by the SAP. So their shipping one would be available in this stack called All Apps for S4 HANA. If you're someone, a customer who is running on older stacks, so they are not yet into S4 HANA, then this is a place where they can look for. So SAP Fiori apps for business suite. So this is for ECC and other products where still customer is using, and they are not yet into S4 HANA, they are using something older stack. So then they can look for all those apps. There's a new category introduced called Fiori Lighthouse apps. So Lighthouse are like curated ones. SAP has taken special care to build some scenarios where you'll have some new features. Maybe you some there are like one example I can take where there is a service intelligence ticket application where they use some machine learning to add some value. So they are now the talking point is how to make intelligent apps. So not just building apps, but how do we make intelligent apps? So Lighthouse apps are some not than regular application. They'll have some new features, or you can say. So there are like some specially curated by SAP. So Lighthouse apps are new set of applications, you can call it out. And SAP do have cloud. So not only on-premise, so these all are on-premise products which we are talking about. They do have cloud as well, where SAP Fiori directly you can run as a subscription, like just like our Netflix, etc., where we have pay per use. So straight away, without doing any configuration, nothing, you can pay your license, you will get a subscription, and you can straight away access from SAP BTP. You can manage your applications and you can play around. So those apps, any new apps which are dedicatedly brought in to cloud space, we can check out in this area, right? So let's see how many apps are there in total. So all put together, so the number of apps would be listed here. So we'll see the count for a general thumb rule. So if you see, there are 13,000 apps in the app store. So this is around 13,000 apps as on date, and it's very small number. when it comes to SAP ecosystem. So this is spanning across all modules. So previously we used to have we used to call different modules and industries and verticals. So if you're SD, CRM, what are modules we talk about, all this module collectively we have only 13,000 apps. 13,000 apps. So, but the number of T codes, if you span across, they are in lakhs. So all the SAP has from 1970s till today, they have at least a minimum, as a general thumb rule, I'm saying 1 lakh transaction codes we can expect it to have transaction codes. So so what's the strategy which SAP is adopting right now? So it's a near impossible feat to transform whole of their existing UI into SAP Fiori or something. But they need a new stack which will allow them to bridge the gap. So what they're trying to do is they're using some different approaches. So they have different tools to improve the UI factor. So what are transactions etc are built. So they are not going to remove it, but they are trying to do lots of simplifications in terms of S4 HANA product release. So with S4 HANA, all these are getting revamped. Even if you ask me, S4 HANA is not a complete product. So every release they are trying to bridge the gap, and they are trying to improve this overall solution stack. So they are trying to improve, but when a new use cases comes into picture, they're trying to build with SAP Fiori. But old use cases, they are having something called persona, and we have something called SAP Screen Personas. Okay, so screen persona, it's now currently in a transaction. If you have 20, 30, 40 fields, and in that out of 30, 40 fields, only 10 fields are popularly used, then you can refine the UI. So the UI can be refined using something, a tool called screen persona. Okay, so this tool allows you to tweak around and play around and simplify. And as a simplest option, what SAP has come is they brought in something called a theme. So this they're changing using something called visual harmonization. So this is what they coined the word called visual harmonization, where they are just providing us the UI which is looks like Fiori like UI. So SAP Fiori theme they have introduced um, for all the SAP GUI applications. So no matter any application you access, the point SAP wanted to bring into notice is, so it is allowing us to use those same screens. So if there is a T code which does not have SAP Fiori as a offering, then still they use SAP GUI for HTML and Java as a backbone in order to run in your browser. So all the applications which are browser compatible can be accessed on your Fiori landing page. Clear? So as a developer going ahead, this number is going to increase exponentially, and all the new use cases they are bound to build using Fiori. But that's not going to be the only ecosystem. Now, from last 1.5 years, the new platform called Cloud Application Programming has come into inroads now. So cloud application programming is too early to say that it is going to change how things use, and we have something called RAP. So it's like RESTful application, application programming. So programming. So these are something new space. Now, this is all we are talking about on-premise. If you see S4 HANA as a product, S4 HANA as a product is a product. It's an on-premise product, right? So we are talking about on-premise, but the market out is not talking about on-premise product, just on-premise product. Customers are interested in how to leverage the capabilities on the cloud. With the current lockdowns across due to COVID, etc. The customers' requests for cloud adoption strategies are significantly increasing, and the ask from customers what's on table in the cloud space is incrementally increasing, and SAP in that front is uh, not too ahead of a curve, and its speeds are really fast ahead. AWS etc are really fast ahead in terms of cloud as a product, but SAP products are not fully, at least SAP ECC product is not yet cloud ready. So we have SAP S4 HANA Cloud, but that is not too good. I mean, it's not fully completely, all the services are not available in S4 HANA Cloud as on date. Okay, we have S4 HANA Cloud as well, not only on-premise version, we have cloud version as well. And along with that, we have lots of SAP has acquired lots of cloud products. those are really doing good job. Ariba, etc. These all are their fantastic products. But the main product which you have that is still lacking its abilities in terms of cloud area. Okay, it's still a work in progress. So this is still a work in progress. So for that, SAP has what it has brought in picture is they brought in something called SAP BTP. So SAP BTP is they coin different names. It's just SAP Cloud Platform. Okay, nothing but SAP Cloud Platform itself. They rebranded into Business Technology Platform. So SAP BTP is a SaaS solution. When I say SaaS, it's a software as a service. So all the application development in order to rapidly increase. So they brought in BTP as a platform where we can build applications for the cloud as well as for the on-premise. So using this platform, so it provides all the development tools. So what all are required necessary for building applications, etc. So at one shot, at one place, you can access all the DBs, you can access all the tools and technologies to leverage and build upon. So instead of manually installing all the required landscapes, etc., this provides all the softwares on the cloud. So using this platform, we can start building our solutions straight away. So if any customer wants to build applications on top of SAP, they can use this new platform SAP BTP in order to subscribe and get used to. So if you see, if you might have already used SAP Web ID. So SAP Web ID is a tool, it's similar to an ID. It's just an work ID. When I say it's integrated development environment, which allow enables us to develop Fiori applications, etc. So we build Fiori applications. The demo which we have seen, right? Not to build, we use something called SAP Web ID Fiori, Web ID as a tool to build Fiori applications. So this service is nothing but one of the service, one such service uh, provided via cloud platform. This is a cloud service, cloud application. This is just one application which is provided as a service in SAP BTP. So in BTP, you'll see lots of other services similar to these services, which enables you to build. So SAP BTP is going to be a default platform going forward for providing such services. Okay. So in this space, new things are coming into picture. So we'll see how do we uh, enable Fiori apps in cloud space. How do we deploy Fiori apps in on-premise space as well as in the cloud space? Clear? I think I'll pause it till here. And if you have any questions till this point, I think you can ask me. So are we good? So Fury 2, what's do we have, and how Fury 3 the evolution is happening, and why it is taking up in such a rapid pace as well. The key drivers for SAP Fiori adoption are S4 HANA. Definitely, you can call it S4 HANA being the driving force behind SAP Fiori, being inroads into customers' solution stack, and the next set of innovations will come in that space. Okay, so I'll just if we are good at this till this junction, I'll just pause it this part here, and I'll just take you through quickly. So tools. Okay, so we have seen how the Fiori apps looks like and where to find all the Fiori applications. So we learned about two things here today. So we learned that there is something called Fiori apps library and some information out there. So this is a SAP Fiori apps library. So we have seen a quick demo of Fiori demo as well. We have seen a quick demo. So how Fiori apps looks like. We just have seen that this is how Fiori 2.0 looks like. So we have seen a Fiori 2.0 demo. So I'm going to now, how do you see for yourself? So there is a simple service for the timing as well. So how do we build these apps? Okay. So for that we need tools, right? So what tools we need, and I'm just going to talk about. So for building applications, we can use Visual Studio Code for local environment. So it's Microsoft with Microsoft, SAP has uh, in partnership with Microsoft. Now they have used Visual Studio Code as a development platform, and the same has been rebranded as Business Application Studio. It's a Business Application Studio is nothing but a rebranding of your Visual Studio Code. So you can use very well Visual Studio Code. So in order to get started, all you need is you have to install a Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, you can type Visual Studio Code, and if you're already familiar with Visual Studio Code, it's pretty well. Else, based on your system, you can download either for Windows or for Linux or Mac. So which are the landscape you are using, you need to download this. So Visual Studio is one tool which we need for building our applications. Okay. So tools required. This is our development tool, development ID for local. So in local, you can straight away use this particular. You can go there and you can download. Okay. So once you download this, we do require something called Node.js. Node.js is a JavaScript application server. So for running our application, we use Node.js as a library in order to um, run our applications, Fiori applications in the local environment. So apart from this Visual Studio Code, you would require Node.js. Node.js. Okay, if you're see, you need not to know anything about Node, JS, etc. But we are just going to use it. So we are going to use it to run. So I'll tell you what all commands we use, etc. So if you're familiar with those commands, then using Node.js would be pretty simple. So it's recommended to go with LTS. This is a long-term support version. So for based on your version, etc., you can again download the one which is based on your system, etc. So for Windows, this is how what's the version which is available right now. Okay, go and download this particular version. Whereas in case of Visual Studio Code, you can download for Windows. If you're Windows, then you can download respectively for 64-bit or 32-bit, etc. Okay, so this is another thing which is required for as part of our development tools. So our library would be Node.js. So once you have these two installed, so it has with Node.js library when you're installing. So make sure that you have some plugin called Chocolatey. Okay, Chocolatey is a default plugin which comes when you're installing it, and it's required for our new up set of tools and templates to work with. We need that plugin as well. So if it prompts you to install, do you want to install Chocolatey plugin? Do enable it. So that is one required for our development tasks. Okay, and these are some only this is the basic things you need. Apart from this, we have something called our central place called ufi.sap.com. So this is your default place where you have to look for your framework. So SAP UFI, SAP Fiori applications are based out of SAP UF. The underlying framework like Angular JS is a UI framework, and SAP UFI is also one such framework. So which SAP is maintaining it, and it's meant for building our Fiori apps. SAP Fiori apps. Okay. So it's meant for building Fiori apps. So this is a framework. So with the documentation out there, if what's new coming into features, etc. So we can check out in this way. So this is we call it as API. So instead of traditional way of looking at a textbook, we can look at the API or documentation, and straight away we can understand what's new, etc. So you'll find some getting started guide as well, and you can see a quick demo as well here below. They'll give you how do we run a simple Hello application, etc. So there is a quick demo as well. So if you see a small snippet called button, if you add this way, and it should pretty much show us. So this is like online editors. Also, we have some of the online editors as well where we can use them to write small snippets for day-to-day use case. Right now, the version which SAP has is 1.90. So Fiori 1.0, it started with 1.28 etc. and 1.16 onwards. And from the journey out there, the new controls are being added, etc. And right now 1.90 is one which supports. So if you want someone with SAP Fiori 3.0 features, then 1.7 and above are greater than um, 1.7 for are required. Okay. 3.0. So if you're someone customer who is having 1.7 and above, then you can definitely have, you can see some of the Fiori 3.0 features. But it's not just one limitation, but there are like many other limitations. So not only this, we need S4 HANA product also to be as 2020 edition onwards, and there are like many other conditions in order to see Fiori 3.0 features. But I'll will go to that extent in coming days ahead. But current version UFI framework, this is a framework version. So framework version is 1.90. It has evolved from Fiori 1.2 to 1.3. What all use cases are being built, the underlying libraries are being shipped as part of these versions. So if you see something as 1.7 and above, that means it has some of the new features, libraries, etc. are available within this framework, is what is understanding. Okay. Now you can. So this is one, nothing more here. We'll go in detail about how to use API, etc. in later classes. But okay, coming the tool. So this is for local, I have said. So similarly, in the cloud also we have something called SAP BTP. So we going to get access to. I'm going to show you a while. So if you do not have any SAP account or trial account, if you can just go to sap.com and you can register for your one P user ID. We need one P user ID in order to access some of the services. So here, if you can click on your the person icon, and you can register yourself for one P user ID. So the moment you create an SAP account, so this is if you already have, you can directly log in, but it's just a simple account which allow you to give one P user ID. So make sure you have one P user ID with you always, because for all our accesses we are going to need one user ID to access some of the services. So create an SAP account, create a SAP account, and keep your P user ID handy. Okay. So this is something required to activate some of service. So one such service is SAP BTP. So SAP BTP 365 days we have trial access for developers. So if you are already familiar with it, good enough. Else, we are going to see SAP BTP is nothing but business technology platform, nothing but your cloud platform. Okay, it's nothing but your cloud platform. So using this P user ID, if at all you have your ID, please if you do not also, please try to create one. And once you have this, then we can go and use this particular URL called SAP-BTP. Okay, so you can search for SAP BTP, so business technology platform. So this will take you to below here. You can just scroll down below. Okay. Me just it's somewhere hidden inside. Let me type as trial account. Yes. So we'll use this URL. Here you'll find start your free trial account. So this is a URL. So maybe it based on your region, it might change. So it might be in a different, but you can search for SAP BTP and then ideally you should get this URL. Okay. So use this URL. So it is India location it shows, but for your location it might change. The URL might change, but you can just try to use the keyword called SAP BTP trial if at all uh, trial account in order to access the respective URL for your use case. Okay. Now I'm going to just start this here. And if you are having P user ID, so it asks for your registered ID. So if you have created P user ID, then it will be linked to your ID. So you can just log in here in this case. So I'm going to log in with my ID right now. So I have already created one ID, so I can use this to log in. It's just we are creating an account. That's it. So this is I have some universal ID. So for in your case, you can skip this. So this is where you'll see your PUs ready. Please make a note of this. So this is very much required for us while doing our exercise, etc. So you do need to know your PUs ready. So this is the idea I'm talking about. So please make a note of this PUs ready. So it should be handy. So keep it handy. Okay. So this is the BTP account. Once you have got a message this way, that means your account is ready, and all you need is so this link is there, right? So you have to just bookmark that link, because next onwards we'll going to use that particular. Once you get this message, click on this link and bookmark this. So we're going to use this quite frequently. So I'm going to bookmark this. I'll create one folder out here now. So let's see UFI favorites. Okay. So this will very frequently will use. It's again asked me for logging in. I'll just re-log in again. Okay, I think I got us. 1 second. I'll click on click start trial. I have signed up with some other ID and it's not able to recognize. Okay, what I can do is I can copy this link. So you'll not have this issue with you because I am having multiple IDs, so it's already logged in with some other ID, so it's not getting authenticated because of that. But I can use incognito. So in that mode, if you are having multiple ID also, it should not in private mode. If we use it, then it should pretty much work as well. So if you are having some other ID as well, you can try to use in incognito modes for you to log in. So once you see this page, that means you have successfully created your account in BTP, and on the cloud, we can access the services listed out there. So this should be your landing page. And in order to get to this, you have to bookmark this URL. So every now and then, we're going to use this particular service in order to reach out. Bookmark SV BTP URL. Clear? So this is your landing page, which is how it has to look. If you see you now, you have on the home page itself, it says something called SAP Business Studio. So Business Studio is a default ID. So it's nothing but Visual Studio Code itself. They have rebranded. So previously we used to use Eclipse as a development ID for Fiori 1.0 releases. Then as an evolution, Web ID was introduced. SAP Web ID was in-house product. And if you see SAP HANA Studio, if you have heard of it, it's nothing but Eclipse rebranded to SAP HANA Studio. Similarly, for Visual Studio Code, they rebranded and they're using as a cloud stack called SAP Business Studio. Of course, SAP is providing some additional add-ons and plugins on top of Visual Studio Code, and they have rebranded as Business Office Studio. But technically, it is the code underlying is Visual Studio Code itself. In order to access Business Studio, all you need to do is you have to first you can click on enter your trial account, and you need to enable the BAS account. So when you log in, it prompts you like you have 365 days trial. So you can just if in your case it might ask you to activate your BTP account. So you just have to activate by authenticating to your email, etc. So once you activate, then you should be able to see this message. So by default, if at all you do not have anything, I'll just delete some. So in BTP, if you are completely new to BTP, so here we have something called subscription based. So each region you can create your own subscription. So right now there are like lots of cloud products out there available. So SAP had its own. So it's like just like your Netflix now. we can create our own region wise. So if you want, if your customer is interested in cloud, and he is more very um, reserved about where his data is residing it. If you wanted to see, because of the new GDPR rules which are out in Europe and other places, where it's mandatory for each governments, they are mandating to store the data in their home country. So if you are someone from US, you have to make sure that all your business data is stored in US, right? And you're someone from India, still there are no rules in terms of where the data has to be stored. So but in Europe, we do have a restriction that the data should not flow outside without the permission of the regional authority, etc. So technically, what we are talking about is where your data want to store for the application data. So in order to store the application data, we can create our subscription based application data where it has to store. We can specify the region. So we can specify the region and choose preferred vendor as well. So in this case, preferred vendor in the sense, if you see ECC, by default you get Oracle as a DB. Okay, so that was how back in those days it used to work. So SAP did not own the database. It was relying on Oracle as a database, but it's only building applications on top of ECC, and they're consuming it. Similarly, now also SAP tried to start like WebID, how they have built their own WebID, but they scrapped the project looking at because it's taking too delay. So SAP WebID next version is SAP BAS, Business Application Studio, or Visual Studio Code. You can call it either way. Okay. So similarly, in the cloud stack, SAP has their own called new environment. So new environment is SAP's own cloud storage, you can call it, or environment managed by SAP. There are other vendors like Microsoft's Azure we have, and Amazon's AWS also we have. So these two are more popular than Neo. Neo has project they have right now. It went to back burner. They are no longer, SAP is not investing, or it's not building any ecosystem out there. This is in a red. So for last 4 or 5 years, they were aggressively doing some new stuff on new environment, but that has been halted right now. Only Azure and AWS are the default providers for cloud data storage. If you're someone, you have to store data, either you have to choose Azure or AWS in order to store your BTP data. So any data, so we have to create one sub account, create a new sub account here. So if you have one with the trial, perfectly fine. Else you can create a sub account called SAP UEFI, and you can say uh, applications built for SAP Fiori. Okay, data. We may not create, so you can choose a provider called whichever provider you intended to use. So I'm using AWS as a provider, as my cloud provider. And the region right now, you for this is a trial account, so I think there are limitations with the number of regions, and even SAP is trying to add many regions going forward. So see, the closer the region you have, the faster would be the services. If the service is too far away from your location, then the service latency would be very high, if you ask me. But that will be very it's still a very early product, so it will take time for SAP also ship to globally to all the regions. Right now you can choose one which is closer to you, maybe US East you can prefer, and I'll choose Europe Frankfurt. This would be closer to my location, and I'll just say my domain name as I'll say as Fury. I'll just say as Fury, and you can skip rest of the things. You can just click on create. Okay, there's a subdomain is already in use. Let me use Fury UX. That's it. It would be creating in a moment. So see, the same traditional in on-premise environment, if you have to create an instance and data, etc., it will take you at least 6 months to get the procure those environment and establish and secure, etc. Now here within minutes we can create one data center in Europe. I can create a data center, all the servers, etc. I can at a click of a button I can request for one instance. So I just created an instance which is sitting in Europe, and I can use it. Of course, it's a trial, so we can play around with it, but businesses can look at from a business angle point of view. They can leverage cloud capabilities to instantly create a data center sitting right at any location. So that's the beauty of cloud. Okay, We just created one new account for SAP UFI, and we'll just create this account. So this is enough. So tomorrow I'll just touch base upon how do we enable activate. So there are like lots of other scenarios to touch upon, but these are something which are necessary. So you can, there is one more, I'll just continue in tomorrow, but I think you can just enable these services and keep it ready, so that we'll see how to use it. So once you create this account, so you'll be able to see one thing called here you have option to enable Cloud Foundry. So Cloud Foundry is a backbone which enables to run all the cloud platform services. So you can just click on enable Cloud Foundry here, and it should create an instance for you, and just click on create. Okay, so the moment you create an instance, so create enable Cloud Foundry cloud. Once you enable Cloud Foundry, it should you should get a key. So API key we call it. So you need to have an API key handy for this particular sub account. So this is your sub account ID, and this is the name of our subdomain Fiori UX. So we got our API key. Just even you have to note down this as well. These details we are going to use later. Okay, just I'm going to make a note of this as well. So keep it handy. So this URL API endpoint is one which we are interested in. So this is one which we are going to use in subsequent classes. Okay. So till here I'll pause the class. Tomorrow we'll resume with some other new learnings, and today you should be able to at least create these particular tools, etc. You can get it installed and keep it ready. So will do a small exercise using these tools, so that we can be able to get started with Fiori. Good. Any questions so far today?
No. Oh, it's okay. Lots okay.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Cool. Then we'll catch up tomorrow, and we'll meet in tomorrow's class. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Raman. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. So you have the recordings as well. You can download this